Hey guys, welcome back to Sleeping Stone Whispers, where history drifts softly into dreams. Crescent Moon. Tonight, we're going back to old London, the night before the Great Fire. The streets are quiet, the horses rest, and the bakers close their shops, never knowing that a tiny ember will soon change everything. So lie back, close your eyes, and let the whispers of the sleeping city carry you away. If you enjoy calm historical stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the little bell. Your support keeps our stories glowing through the night. The night hung heavy over London, wrapped in a silver hush. The rain had ended hours ago, but the cobblestones still glimmered faintly, catching the light of the moon that peeked through drifting clouds. The narrow lane of Pudding Lane lay almost empty now, save for the faint orange glow that spilled from the open door of a bakery near the corner, the only sign of life still awake. Inside, Thomas Farriner, a broad-shouldered man with flour dusted on his beard, was finishing his final batch of bread. His hands moved slowly, almost rhythmically, folding the dough with the tired care of a craftsman who had done this same dance every night for years. The smell of warm bread filled the air, deep, comforting, like a mother's hug, seeping through cracks in the wooden door and into the street beyond. A single candle flickered on the counter, its wax dripping in slow tears. Behind it, rows of golden loaves rested in baskets, their crusts cooling and cracking softly. Thomas wiped his brow with the back of his wrist, glanced toward the window, and saw only darkness and mist. The city outside was asleep, deep, peaceful, unaware. He stepped outside for a moment, stretching his back, listening. The faint hum of the Thames carried through the air. Somewhere down the alley, a dog barked once and fell silent. A cat, grey with soot, like most things in London, wound around Thomas's boots and purred for scraps. He smiled, broke off a small piece of bread, and tossed it down. "Here you go, Ash," he whispered. "You've earned your supper too." The cat crouched and began to eat, tail twitching. Thomas leaned against the doorframe, letting the cool air touch his face. The smell of wood smoke and damp stone mixed with the sweetness of baked bread, the scent of an honest night's work. From far away, the church bell struck midnight. Its echo rolled through the fog like a slow heartbeat. Thomas listened until the last note faded, then turned back inside. He checked the ovens one last time. The fire was low, just embers glowing faintly beneath the iron grate. He adjusted a few loaves, careful not to let them burn, and laid his paddle aside. The wooden floor creaked beneath his boots as he crossed to the stairs leading up to his small room above the shop. Before climbing, he looked back, at the baskets lined neatly, the cooling bread, the steady glow of the coals. A good night's work. He nodded to himself, proud in quiet simplicity. The cat had followed him inside and now curled up near the warmth of the oven. Thomas smiled faintly. "Stay close, Ash. It'll be a cold one tonight," he murmured. He blew out the candle. For a brief second, the bakery was pure darkness, then, from the dying oven, a single coal shifted, sending up a tiny spark. It floated, golden and silent, before settling again among the ashes. Outside, the wind stirred down Pudding Lane, carrying the faint smell of bread and smoke through the empty streets. And the city slept on. The fog moved softly through London that night, like breath upon glass, blurring the edges of the world. Down along the narrow lanes, oil lamps flickered, their flames bending with the wind. The air smelled faintly of wet stone, coal smoke, and river mist, a perfume that only old cities know. A watchman strolled along Fish Street Hill, his lantern swinging at his side, sending ripples of light over the cobblestones. His boots echoed in steady rhythm, clack, 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 the only heartbeat in the quiet night. Every few steps, he paused, rubbed his hands for warmth, and glanced up at the rooftops where chimneys stood like silent sentinels guarding the sleeping city. From the open window of a tailor's shop, a candle still burned. Its flame trembled in the draught, casting tall shadows that stretched across half-sewn coats and a wooden mannequin waiting in eternal patience. The tailor himself had fallen asleep at his table, needle still between his fingers, dreams half-stitched with his day's labor. Beyond the lane, the Thames shimmered under moonlight, a silver road winding through the heart of the city. Barges rocked gently in their sleep, ropes creaking, sails folded like wings. From the far side of the river, faint music drifted, maybe from a tavern still open, maybe from a dream. The lamplighter, an old man with a limp, made his final round. His long pole reached up to touch the last wick, coaxing one more glow from the glass lantern before he tipped his hat to the empty street. He hummed a quiet tune, something about home, or love, or both, as his figure disappeared into the mist. High above, in the windows of cramped apartments, candles quivered behind lace curtains. A mother leaned over her child, brushing a curl from the little one's face before whispering a soft prayer. Across the street, a sailor's wife pressed her husband's letter to her chest before snuffing her light. And in the narrow rooms of Pudding Lane, the baker, Thomas Farriner, had just closed his eyes. The moon broke through the clouds, pale and watchful. Its light slipped across rooftops, touched chimneys, and found the curve of the baker's sign swinging gently in the breeze. It looked almost peaceful, this old, crowded London, as if the entire city had finally exhaled after a long day. But beneath the stillness, the embers in the baker's oven glowed faintly, a heartbeat of fire in a city made of wood. The watchman yawned, leaned against a post, and looked up at the moon. "Quiet night," he muttered to himself. "Too quiet." Then, pulling his cloak tighter, he moved on. Somewhere behind him, a soft spark fell through a crack in the baker's floorboards. It landed on a wisp of straw, and waited. The night deepened. London lay wrapped beneath its own breath, a living thing asleep, murmuring softly through its endless lanes. The rain had stopped hours ago, but its memory clung to the rooftops, glistening faintly beneath the half-seen moon. In the markets of Cheapside, stalls stood empty now, their fruit baskets covered with cloth, their benches wet with dew. Somewhere, a lone mouse darted between apples, sniffing, searching, before vanishing into shadow. Above the stalls, shutters creaked gently in the breeze, their hinges whispering like voices half lost in dreams. In a house near St. Paul's, a little girl named Martha dreamed of ribbons. She was chasing them through a golden meadow, ribbons that floated higher each time she reached out her hand. Her mother, asleep beside her, dreamed of the same thing, though she didn't know it, the ribbon now a memory of her wedding veil long ago. At the docks, sailors lay sprawled in hammocks, boots still on, hands behind their heads. Their dreams were restless, the sea calling them back with waves made of sound and memory. One sailor smiled faintly in his sleep as gulls wheeled in his mind's sky. And in the small stone chapel near Fleet Street, an old priest dozed in his chair, prayer book still open. The candle beside him had burned low, its wick now bending, its flames sighing out. The scent of melted wax filled the air, and the priest's head dipped lower as his thoughts wandered into gentle, holy dreams. Even the rats in the taverns curled in corners tonight, bellies full, whiskers twitching. The whole city seemed to hum a low, steady tune, the song of rest. Up above the sleeping streets, smoke drifted slowly from a few late chimneys, rising into the fog and vanishing among the clouds. The moon's reflection shimmered faintly on the Thames, rippling with every sigh of wind. And somewhere on Pudding Lane, behind a closed wooden door, a cat named Ash lifted his head. His green eyes flickered in the dark. He could smell something faint, not the scent of bread this time, but something sharper. He yawned, stretched, and settled down again, his tail curling around him like a question mark. The ember beneath the oven pulsed softly once more. But for now, the city dreamed on. The world often changes in silence. And on this night, in a narrow bakery on Pudding Lane, change began with the smallest sound, a soft crackle in the dark. The baker's oven, once alive with roaring heat, now glowed in its dying breath. The last of the loaves had been pulled out hours ago. The fire beneath the iron grate had almost gone cold, almost, but not entirely. In the soft blackness of the bakery, faint orange light flickered like the last thought before sleep. The coals pulsed slowly, dimming and brightening again, their warmth fading into the air where flowers still floated like pale dust. A single coal shifted. It tumbled through the grate and landed among a few loose splinters of wood, half buried in straw left from the day's packing. For a long while, nothing happened. The spark rested, dim and harmless, no brighter than a dying star. But the wind outside stirred. It sighed through the cracks in the shutters, gently lifting the edge of a rag left on the floor. A small draft slipped through, found the ember, and breathed life into it. The coal brightened, first to amber, then to gold. A cat stirred near the oven, Ash, the gray one, blinking sleepily. His tail twitched. He watched the faint orange glow dance across the floorboards, curious but unafraid. To him, it was just warmth, just comfort. The kind of light that belongs to the night. The straw around the ember curled and blackened. A faint thread of smoke rose, so thin it was invisible in the dark. The ember's color deepened, spreading like a blush beneath the wood. Then, with a faint pop, the smallest flame appeared, no bigger than a candle's tongue. It wavered once, twice, and caught. Outside, the fog thickened, muffling every sound. The church bell of St. Magnus sighed once in the distance. The river moved, the wind breathed, and London slept, a city built of wood, wrapped in dreams. And in that small bakery, beneath the soft glow of the oven, history quietly opened its eyes. In the quiet bakery, time seemed to have stopped. The air was thick and warm, still holding the scent of bread, crusty and sweet, though the night had long since deepened outside. The wooden beams creaked softly, answering the wind that brushed against the walls. On the floor, beside the oven's dull glow, lay Ash, the baker's cat. His gray fur shimmered faintly in the orange light as his tail flicked from time to time, lazy and content. His ears twitched, listening, to the hush of sleeping London, to the sigh of firewood settling. Then, something changed. A tiny, sharp sound, like the whisper of paper burning. Ash lifted his head. His eyes, wide, yellow, and calm, reflected the faintest flicker on the wall. The embers beneath the grate had grown brighter, their edges turning from dull red to hungry gold. He stood, stretched slowly, back arching, claws scraping against the wooden floor. His gaze followed the soft dance of light that played across the room. To him, it was nothing unusual, a comfort, not a warning. He stepped closer. The little flame, smaller than a candle, reached for the air, flickering, almost shy. It cast ripples of warm light against the flour-dusted wall. Ash purred, low and steady. To him, fire was warmth. Fire meant the baker nearby, kneading, humming, scattering crumbs. Fire was home. The wind whispered again, just a sigh, slipping through the crack under the door. The little flame bent with it, then straightened, stronger now. A curl of smoke rose and wandered upward, soft as silk, tracing the air above the oven. Ash's ears twitched. He blinked slowly, tail wrapping around his paws. He watched the flames slow dance the way cats watch everything, with patience, with curiosity, with quiet wonder. From outside came the distant creak of a cart's wheel, maybe a late delivery from the market. The cat's gaze flicked toward the door, then back to the light. He could feel the warmth growing, not hot, but steady, almost soothing. He yawned, long and wide, showing tiny teeth that caught the glow for a moment. Then he lay down again, head resting on his paws. His eyes half closed, but didn't quite shut. He watched the orange shimmer fade and return, like the breathing of the earth itself. In his mind, maybe it was a dream, the kind where you chase sunbeams or nap beside golden windows. The kind where warmth never turns to danger. The flame swayed, soft and innocent. A single spark leapt from the straw to the edge of a wooden barrel nearby, left half full of kindling. It hissed faintly, then held. Ash's tail twitched again, once, twice. His eyes glowed brighter, mirrors of the rising light. Outside, the fog pressed close to the window. The streets were silent. The city still slept. And in the bakery, two small golden eyes reflected the first breath of fire. Outside, London's night deepened into stillness. The fog had thickened, folding over the rooftops like a heavy blanket, soft and silver gray. The streets were empty now, even the watchmen had drifted to their corners, leaning against walls, letting their lanterns dim. The air was cool, moist, full of the smell of the river and old stone. Then, from somewhere far down Pudding Lane, the wind began to move. It started as a whisper, no louder than the sigh of a dream. It slid between alleyways, curling around chimney stacks, carrying with it the faint salt of the Thames. It moved like something alive, patient, searching, until it reached the small wooden door of Thomas Farriner's bakery. The door shivered faintly on its hinges. The wind found a crack, just a sliver, enough to breathe through. And as it passed inside, it met the soft orange glow beneath the oven. The flame, small and flickering, trembled, then leaned toward the breath that fed it. The straw caught faster now, edges curling black, then flaring gold. The air shimmered with heat, though faintly, like a sigh turned warm. Ash the cat lifted his head again. His ears twitched. He blinked once, then twice, as the light around him grew brighter, the walls painted with soft amber. The crackle of the fire was gentle, almost soothing, like dry paper folding in a hearth. He stretched, sniffed the air, and padded toward the stairs, his tail brushing the wooden floorboards. The heat followed him, shy but growing. Outside, the wind curled around the building again, circling it, teasing it, finding more ways in. Through the tiny gaps in the shutters. Beneath the eaves. Around the window frames where old wood had softened. Each breath of air fed the flame, and the flame, like a child learning to walk, reached out a little farther. It climbed the edge of a barrel, licking upward, then found the beam beside it. The sound of burning wood began, faint, steady, rhythmic, tick, 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 as if the night itself had started counting time. Upstairs, Thomas stirred in his sleep. He turned over once, sighing, unaware that his dreams were warming beneath him. The firelight began to flicker on the ceiling below, tracing restless shadows. Downstairs, the wind blew again, gentle but insistent. The flame bent, then straightened, then leapt, catching a hanging cloth. For a moment, the bakery glowed as though dawn had come too early. And through it all, the wind kept whispering, calm, soft, endless, as if comforting the fire it had awakened. Outside, the fog began to glow faintly, tinted orange at its edges. But London did not stir. The city slept on, still breathing in dreams, unaware that the wind had found its voice. Beyond the bakery, the lanes widened into quiet yards where carts stood motionless beneath the fog. The smell of hay and damp earth hung in the air. Lanterns, long since blown out, swung gently on their hooks, creaking with the weight of dew. Inside a timber stable, horses breathed in rhythm, slow and steady, the sound of sleep. Warm air rose from their bodies, mixing with the cool mist that crept through the open slats. Straw rustled softly as one mare shifted her hooves, her tail flicking at an invisible dream. The boy who cared for them, Will, was only 12. He slept in a loft above the stalls, wrapped in a rough wool blanket, his face half buried in straw. A soft snore slipped from his lips, the kind of sound that comes from a heart still innocent, still sure the world is gentle. Below, one of the horses, a chestnut mare named Clover, lifted her head. Her ears pricked toward the bakery next door. She smelled something faint, something warm and smoky. Her nostrils flared, but the smell was far away, tucked behind the sweetness of hay. She gave a small whinny, low and uncertain. The sound echoed lightly in the rafters. Will stirred. For a moment, he was awake, not fully, just enough to roll over and mumble, "Easy, girl, just the wind." The mare lowered her head again. Her breath fogged in the chill, curling like ghostly ribbons in the air. She closed her eyes. The stable returned to silence. Outside, the wind drifted across the yard, carrying the faintest scent of bread and burning wood. The stars hid behind the fog, and somewhere, far off, a bell struck one. Will dreamed of horses running through green meadows under sunlight, hooves thundering, manes flying. His lips curved into a small smile. Below him, the real horses dreamed too, their legs twitching, as if they ran beside him. For now, all was peace. Only the wind moved, whispering through cracks in the walls, brushing over the straw like a hand through golden hair. And somewhere, not far away, the first curl of smoke began to reach the night air, unnoticed, delicate, beautiful. The dawn hadn't come yet, only that deep, blue hour when night sighs its last. In the hayloft above the stables, Will Turner, the stable boy, stirred beneath his rough wool blanket. His dreams had been warm and sweet, horses running free, sunlight on water, but now the air felt colder, heavier. A low sound came from below. Clover snorted softly, her hooves shifting in the straw. Will opened one eye. For a moment, he just listened. The stable creaked and breathed like a living thing, the slow rhythm of horses sleeping, the gentle tap of a rope against wood, the far-off hum of the city at rest. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. His hair was full of hay, sticking out in all directions. The smell of earth and oats filled his nose. Will smiled to himself. Another morning soon, he whispered, though the stars still lingered outside the cracks of the stable wall. He didn't know what time it was. The city bells were too far to hear. But he could sense something, not wrong, exactly, just different. The air was thicker, the way it gets before a storm. Will climb down the wooden ladder, careful not to wake the horses. His bare feet touched the cool dirt floor. He went stall by stall, checking each animal as his father had taught him. Clover, Misty, Bramble, all sleeping soundly. He patted Clover's neck, whispering, "Easy, girl. You're safe." Her ear twitched. She exhaled warm air against his hand. Will smiled again. He loved these moments, quiet and secret, when the world was still half asleep. He poured a little feed into the troughs, then lit a small oil lamp to see better. The light flickered, painting gold lines across the wooden walls. Dust floated in the beam, spinning slowly like lazy stars. Will looked toward the far wall, where the stable joined the bakery next door. He thought he heard something, a faint crackle, maybe, or a sigh of air. He frowned, then shrugged. "Just the oven's cooling," he murmured. He set the lamp back down and climbed up to his loft again, curling under his blanket. The horses shifted below him. The lamp's flame danced quietly for a moment, then stilled. Outside, the mist hung low. London's rooftops were dark silhouettes, and the street lay empty, sleeping, waiting. The city's breath was slow and calm. And in that stillness, the faint glow from the bakery's window flickered once, twice, before settling into something slightly brighter. But Will didn't see it. His eyes had already closed. The lamp burned low. The world turned in its sleep. The world outside the stable was holding its breath. The moon hung pale behind drifting fog, and the streets of London lay as still as painted stone. Somewhere in the distance, a watchman's staff tapped once, twice, then faded into silence again. Inside the stable, Will's lamp had burned down to a trembling wick. Its glow flickered weakly across the walls, touching bits of straw and the smooth curve of Clover's back. The mare twitched in her sleep, nostrils fluttering softly, a faint dream whinny escaping her throat. Up above, Will had fallen back into dreams. His hand hung loose over the edge of the loft, fingers brushing straw. He dreamed of summer fields again, of running barefoot through tall grass, of laughter echoing across a riverbank. Every dream was soaked in golden light, the kind that never fades except in waking. The wind stirred, slipping through the open cracks of the stable wall. It whispered across the floor, carrying the faintest trace of warmth, not enough to notice, not enough to fear. Just a gentle sigh that moved a loose scrap of hay. In the corners, the shadows deepened. Dust drifted lazily through the last of the lamplight, catching for a moment before vanishing into dark. The air felt thick, still holding that sweet smell of oats and earth, and something else, something faint and smoky beneath it all. But the stable slept on. Horses breathed in rhythm. The boy's chest rose and fell. And time, for a moment, seemed to pause, kind and endless. If someone had walked by the door, they might have said it looked peaceful, perfectly ordinary. Just another night in London. Just another hour before dawn. The lamp's flame shivered one last time, then went out. Darkness wrapped around the stable like a soft blanket. Sleep returned. And with it, silence. Only, far away, beyond the walls, beyond the calm, something tiny and glowing continued to breathe. A spark. A whisper of light. Waiting. The Thames moved slowly that night, a dark mirror holding the sky. The moon drifted above it, thin and silver, painting quiet ribbons of light across the rippling water. A few empty ferries rocked gently by the wooden docks. Their ropes groaned with the pull of the tide, the sound soft and rhythmic, like a cradle's sway. Every so often, a small wave touched the shore, then slipped away without a sound, as if London itself were exhaling in its sleep. No oars moved. No voices called. The river, always so full of shouts and creaks and laughter by day, had fallen silent. Only the faint song of the current remained, whispering under the bridges. Farther out, a gull floated on the surface, half asleep, its wings tucked beneath it. The reflection of the moon broke against its outline, scattering silver ripples across the dark. Near the bank, a ferryboat bumped softly against a piling. The old wood creaked, as though it remembered every crossing, every merchant, every sailor, every hurried passenger it had ever carried. But tonight, it rested. The city beyond the river looked peaceful. Lanterns still burned faintly in the windows of the bridge houses, their lights trembling in the mist. The wind carried the smell of wet stone and river mud, familiar, grounding, eternal. Somewhere across the water, faintly, a church bell rang too. The sound traveled over the current, stretching thin and far, until it disappeared into fog. And still, the ferries swayed, untroubled. The night was whole, calm, unbroken. For now. On the south side of the Thames, near London Bridge, an old watchman leaned against a cold stone wall. His lantern swung lazily beside him, its glow half lost in the fog. Above, the bridge's arches loomed like shadows upon shadows, and below, the dark river sighed against the piers. The man's name was Samuel Bray, though few ever used it. To most, he was just the night guard. He'd walked this stretch for nearly 20 years, through frost and rain, through the laughter of drunks and the cries of bargemen. But tonight was different. Quiet. Kind. He puffed on his clay pipe, the small red ember glowing faintly in the dark. Each breath he took sent a curl of smoke into the mist, where it hung for a moment before fading away. He liked that, the way the smoke drifted, free and formless. He thought of his wife, Marjorie, who would be asleep now, her hands folded neatly beside her. He smiled at the thought of her bread baking in the mornings, the smell filling their small kitchen. He thought of his children, grown now, one working in the shipyards, one apprenticed to a tailor. The river spoke to him in little sounds, the lap of water, the soft thud of a drifting log, the faint flap of a sail somewhere far downstream. Samuel listened, pipe between his teeth, letting it all wash through him like an old song. The air was damp, but he didn't mind. His coat was thick, his bones used to the cold. He'd seen fog so heavy you could barely see your own boots, nights when the city seemed swallowed whole. But this was gentler. Softer. Almost peaceful. He took another slow puff and looked across the river. The north bank glimmered faintly, just hints of rooftops, dim lights, and chimney shadows. Nothing unusual. Nothing troubling. A small sigh escaped him. Another night done soon, he murmured to no one in particular. He tapped his pipe on the stone rail, sending tiny sparks tumbling down toward the water. They vanished before they could touch the surface. He didn't notice how long he stood there, minutes, maybe an hour. The fog made time drift like the river itself. The city behind him slept. The fairies swayed. The moon slipped behind clouds. And still, Samuel watched, steady, patient, unaware that far beyond his sight, another ember was glowing brighter than his own. The river had grown even quieter. The fog was thinner now, spread like silk over the Thames. The old watchman, Samuel Bray, stood where he always did, at the edge of the bridge, his lantern resting by his boots, his pipe nearly burned out. He stared across the dark water, his eyes heavy with that easy stillness that comes before dawn. London slept, a faint pattern of rooftops and chimneys half hidden by mist. The air was cool, the kind that makes breath show like smoke. Then he saw it. At first, it was only a faint shimmer, a soft orange blur somewhere far down the river, just above the rooftops. It flickered once, then again, reflecting weakly on the water's skin. Samuel squinted. "Well now," he murmured, "looks like the sun's early tonight." He smiled to himself. Maybe it was the dawn breaking sooner than expected, or maybe someone lighting a kiln or a furnace before work. The color was warm, too gentle to worry about. He drew another puff from his pipe, feeling the ember glow faintly against the night air. Across the river, the reflection shimmered again, this time rippling wider, stretching, bending, dancing on the current. It painted the smallest streaks of copper over the waves, so lovely it almost looked holy. Samuel watched it for a long time. The air smelled faintly sweet, bread and wood smoke drifting over the water. He thought of Marjorie again, her bread cooling by the window. Maybe that was what it reminded him of, a home kind of warmth, soft and comforting. He sighed, smiling. "A fair sight," he whispered, "for an old man to end his shift on." Behind him, the clock of St. Magnus Church began to toll. 3 slow chimes. The river seemed to answer each one with a ripple, the fairies bumping gently against their ropes. By the time the last bell faded, the orange shimmer had grown slightly brighter. Not alarming. Not wild. Just, alive. Samuel looked once more, yawned, and reached for his lantern. "Best make me rounds," he said softly. "The morning'll be here soon enough." He walked away, footsteps echoing hollow on the bridge stones. Behind him, the river caught another glimmer, brighter now, spreading thin threads of gold and red that tangled and stretched with the tide. And still, London slept. The fog over London had thickened to milk. It curled around steeples, blurred the edges of rooftops, and turned every sound into a whisper. Inside the tall tower of St. Magnus the Martyr, the great bronze bells hung motionless, their mouths dark and cold. They had not rung since midnight. Now they waited, heavy and silent, their clappers sleeping in still air. Outside, pigeons huddled beneath the stone eaves. They shifted on their ledge, feathers puffed against the chill, cooing softly to one another, the only voices that dared disturb the dawnless hour. Below them, the narrow streets were ghosts of themselves, pale ribbons winding through shadow. The gas lamps had long since burned out, leaving only the weak silver of the moon to catch on wet cobblestones. The church stood watch over it all, unmoving, old, patient. Within its tower, the air smelled of dust and iron, of candle soot and time. The bells, massive and ancient, seemed to listen. If they could feel, they might have sensed the tremor in the fog, that faint warmth creeping beneath the cold. For now, though, nothing stirred. The pigeons dozed again. The mist breathed in and out through the open arches. The city's heart beat slow and steady. And in that moment of deep calm, somewhere beyond Pudding Lane, a single spark found air. It flared, small, almost beautiful, and the fog shivered. But the bells stayed silent. Morning had not yet come, only that thin gray hour between dream and waking. The fog lay heavy across Pudding Lane, and every sound seemed far away, softened, as if wrapped in wool. Through that quiet mist walked a boy named Tom Dyer, the milk boy. He was small for his 12 years, with a cap too big for his head and boots that squelched when he stepped through puddles. He carried 2 tin pails, the handles clinking softly as he walked. His breath came out in white clouds. He liked this time of morning, before the city truly woke. The streets belonged only to him, the cats, and the chimneys that whispered smoke into the fog. Tom whistled a tune, light and crooked, one his mother sang when she kneaded dough. The sound bounced gently off the stone walls, carried by the mist. As he turned the corner near Thomas Farriner's bakery, he noticed something unusual, a faint glow along the bricks. At first, he thought it was the reflection of his lantern, but he wasn't carrying one. He squinted, stepping closer. The light flickered, soft and orange, like a candle seen through glass. It shimmered against the bakery's shutters, licking faintly at the edges of the door. Tom frowned. "Mr. Farriner must be up early," he whispered. "Still baking at this hour." He smiled at the thought, maybe the man was testing a new recipe, or keeping his ovens warm for Sunday morning. The smell in the air seemed to agree, warm bread, sweet crust, a little wood smoke. Tom set one of his pails down and peered closer. Through the crack beneath the door, he saw a faint pulse of light, steady, rhythmic, like breathing. The warmth touched his cheek. It felt nice against the cold. He almost knocked, just to say hello. But he hesitated. The street was empty, and the fog felt thicker now, pressing close. The sound of his own heartbeat filled his ears. Then, a small pop came from behind the door, sharp, like a stick breaking in a fire. Tom jumped back, startled. Just wood, he told himself. Just the oven. He waited a moment more, then shrugged and picked up his pail. Funny folk, bakers, he muttered, starting down the lane. Never sleep, they don't. The glow behind him brightened, barely. Just a little. Enough to reach the fog. Enough to touch the cobblestones with a hint of gold. Tom never looked back. He disappeared into the mist, humming again, his song soft as the city's last dream. Over London, the stars were fading. Not because of sunrise, that was still hours away, but because a soft orange haze had begun to bloom low along the rooftops, like the faintest blush of morning seen through mist. The city slept on. In narrow lanes, cats curled tighter into doorways. In tall houses, curtains fluttered gently where windows had been left half open. Inside, the sound of sleep filled every room, slow breathing, soft murmurs, the creak of old beds beneath dreams. No one saw how the glow from Pudding Lane began to stretch. It moved quietly, painting the undersides of clouds with a thin amber hue. The fog caught it, holding the color as if uncertain what it was, dawn or something else entirely. The church of St. Magnus stood tall in the haze, its tower lost in the fog. Inside, the bells still slept, their iron hearts unmoving. But faint warmth began to reach even there, the kind that touches stone before light does. Across the rooftops, chimney smoke wove into the air, blending with the rising glow. It was beautiful, like the city itself had begun to dream of fire. A watchman near the docks rubbed his eyes and thought the sky looked strange. He blinked, then smiled to himself. "Ah," he whispered, "morning's coming early today." Then he leaned against the wall and drifted back into half-sleep. Even the pigeons under the church eaves were still. Even the horses in the stables dreamed on. Even little Will Turner, asleep above the stalls, turned in his straw bed and smiled at something in his dreams. The orange grew brighter, pulsing faintly through the fog. The air smelled of smoke now, not heavy, just sweet and far away. The kind that feels like comfort until it doesn't. London slept on. And the first true spark of the great fire breathed quietly beneath their dreams. The first smoke rose quietly. It did not roar or rush, it drifted, slow as a sigh, curling up through the narrow lanes of Pudding Lane, tasting the air like a ghost testing its freedom. The fog welcomed it, blending shadow with shadow, until no one could tell where mist ended and smoke began. The color was soft at first, pale gray, touched with gold where the firelight below reached up through cracks in doors and shutters. It rolled along the cobblestones, coiling around the edges of barrels and carts, slipping through gaps beneath windowsills. In a nearby alley, a cat lifted its head. Its eyes caught the faint shimmer, twin coins of amber in the dark. The cat mewed once, softly, then patted away, tail brushing against the wall where the light danced faintly. A drunkard, slumped against a barrel, stirred. He coughed once, muttered something about cold air, and turned his face into his sleeve. The smoke passed over him gently, curling into his tangled hair. Within moments, his breathing evened out again. Sleep claimed him once more. The smoke crept higher, painting strange shapes on the walls, long fingers, soft and uncertain. It wrapped around doorframes and hung beneath eaves, brushing the sleeping windows like a hand made of silk. London's heart still beat slowly. The only sounds were the river's sigh, the distant hoot of an owl, and the faint crackle from far below, where the fire's first breath deepened. If anyone had been awake, they might have seen it, how the smoke moved not with anger, but with grace, curling through the city like a dream looking for a place to rest. But no one saw. No one stirred. And above the quiet streets, the stars were gone, hidden now behind a growing veil of pale orange and drifting gray. The boy's name was Will, though no one in London ever called him that. To most, he was just the sweep. He slept where the wind could reach him, under chimneys, beside broken tiles, curled in the shallow warmth that leaked from smoke vents. Tonight, or what still was night, the air felt softer than usual. Warmer, even. He stirred beneath his soot-blackened blanket, a piece of old sack, and blinked. Something was different. The sky had a faint color to it, not the deep blue of night, not yet the pale silver of morning. It was glowing. Gently, like the inside of an ember. Will rubbed his eyes, thinking it must be dawn come early. He muttered to no one, sun's got up for me today. He sat up, bones thin and sharp against the cold tiles, and yawned. The rooftops around him stretched like waves in a sea of slate, chimneys standing like masts. Below, the lanes were still dark, sleeping. The glow pulsed again, soft orange on the horizon, painting the edges of the smoke drifting upward. Will squinted. He smiled, small and sleepy. "Mornin's here," he whispered, voice cracked from ash and silence. He didn't notice how the smoke was moving against the wind. He didn't see how the glow flickered and swayed like breath caught between shadows. Instead, he reached for his little bundle of brushes and soot cloths, tucking them under his arm. Another day's climb, another roof to clean. He rose carefully, balancing on the edge of the sloped roof, looking toward the east, toward that shimmering orange halo that seemed to breathe. It was beautiful from where he stood. Warm. Kind. Below him, a single window flickered. Then another. And another. Will smiled again. London's wakened early, it seems. But London was not waking. It was beginning to burn. Beyond the city's maze of lanes and bakers' shops, beyond the smoky rooftops where the sweep still yawned, the palace slept, vast and golden under the faintest touch of moonlight. The corridors were silent. Only the soft patter of a mouse, the distant creak of a timber beam. Curtains of velvet hung heavy, barely moving in the warm summer air. In the royal bedchamber, the king dreamed. Not of London. Not of war or throne. He dreamed of the sea, calm, endless, silver like melted glass. He dreamed of peace, something he had not known while awake. Outside his window, a faint haze began to rise. It twirled along the garden hedges and climbed the marble walls like a polite guest asking entry. It was not yet smoke enough to alarm, only a whisper, a sigh of warmth. A guard at the outer post shifted in his seat, half asleep, his halberd resting loosely in hand. He thought he smelled something like roasted grain, or charred wood. But he was tired, and London's air always carried such scents. He leaned back again. Closed his eyes. The great clock in the courtyard struck 2. Each note echoed softly through the halls. Slow, round, drowsy. As if time itself were yawning. The city beyond the palace walls began to shimmer faintly, like a candle seen through glass. The king turned in his sleep, murmuring something that even he could not hear. For now, London was still at rest. Every soul still drifting between dreams and dawn. Every door still closed, every bell still silent. And above it all, the night exhaled. Peaceful, beautiful. Just before it would break. London's heart was a maze of wood and whispers. Each lane wound tight between houses that leaned toward each other like old friends sharing secrets. Roof to roof, beam to beam, the city seemed to breathe together, dreaming in one slow rhythm. Windows were shuttered. Doors bolted. Candles had long burned low. Only the faint sigh of the river could be heard, mingling with the soft creak of wood that had known centuries of storms. And then, unseen, unheard, a breath of smoke drifted between the narrow walls. It was thin as thread, curling past a hanging lantern and the frayed ropes of a merchant's sign. The sign swayed once, quietly. No one noticed. Inside, a family slept, father, mother, 2 children huddled beneath a wool blanket. The warmth that crept beneath their door felt harmless, like a memory of the hearth. But warmth became heat. And heat began to move. Through alleys so tight the stars could barely fit between them, the unseen hand of fire began its walk. It touched one beam, then another, soft, patient, almost kind. No sound yet. No cry. Only the gentle stretching of timber that had forgotten how to wake. The streets of London, those beautiful, crooked veins, began to carry not people, but flame. Still, the city slept on. Above the slumbering lanes, the rooftops breathed a pale orange sigh. It began so softly that even the cat sleeping on window ledges did not stir. A red shimmer traced the undersides of balconies, brushing along beams blackened by age. Tar, pitch, oak, the very bones of London began to hum quietly, like strings beneath invisible fingers. A faint crackle echoed through the night, not a roar, not yet, but a whisper. If sound could dream, it would sound like this. The air smelled different now. Not quite smoke. Something older, a scent of warmth, resin, and memory. Across the rooftops, a woman rolled over in her sleep, thinking she'd seen the sun rising through her window. A horse in a nearby stable stamped once, uneasy, then quieted again. The light was gentle, too gentle to frighten, too beautiful to ignore. It shimmered beneath the eaves, painted the edges of glass bottles, and turned the cobblestones below into coins of gold. From a far balcony, a pigeon lifted its head, blinking into the glow. It cooed once, low and confused, then settled back down. Nothing in London knew yet that the color of morning was wrong. It was not sunrise that touched the city. It was fire learning to speak. London had always been a city of wood. Warm, creaking, breathing. Every beam had once been part of a tree. Rooted deep in a forest where the wind hummed through leaves. Now those same timbers stood shoulder to shoulder. Holding roofs, keeping families safe, keeping memories dry. But wood remembers. And on this night, as the air grew warm and restless, something ancient within the walls began to wake. The red shimmer under the eaves stretched farther. A quiet ribbon gliding along carved window frames. Slipping beneath doors, licking the hems of curtains. It didn't rush. It remembered, the way trees remember sunlight. The old oak beams, the pine shutters, the tarred shingles. They all seemed to sigh as if recognizing an old friend. The fire was not an enemy yet. It was memory returning, of warmth, of brightness. Of the sun that once kissed every leaf before the axe fell. The city, still asleep, lay unaware that its dreams were slowly turning to embers. Somewhere in the dark, a single spark leapt from one roof to another. A golden thread weaving across the sleeping maze. Below, a man turned in bed, murmuring about the heat. A woman pushed open a window for air. And her face glowed softly in the orange light, as though touched by dawn. But it wasn't dawn. It was destiny, slow, silent, unstoppable. And soon, the city of wood would awaken to the sound of its own heartbeat. Made of flame. The night was thinning. Its edges frayed with mist and faint light, the way old fabric frays at the seam. Far across the city, the bell of St. Paul's lifted its slow, round voice. 4. Each toll rolled like a wave through London's narrow lanes, deep, patient, unhurried. The sound slid along rooftops, drifted over river fog, and brushed against the shutters of sleeping rooms. To those who heard it, it was a comfort. A promise that morning would soon arrive. But this was no ordinary dawn. The bell's echo touched the air and came back changed, carrying a tremor of warmth. The faint hiss of something unseen, growing, moving. Smoke wound itself through the chime's last note like a gray ribbon, twisting through alleys, rising between the beams. A baker's sign creaked once, faintly glowing. A window pane reflected a light that wasn't from any candle. And yet, the city dreamed on. Even the bell, great and proud, did not know it had marked the final hour of peace. For a clock, the clock before dawn. The breath before awakening. The last heartbeat of London's slumber. At the corner of Thames Street, beneath a crooked lamppost, a watchman stood half in shadow, half in the soft glow of his lantern. His coat hung heavy on his shoulders, smelling faintly of rain and smoke. He'd walked the same path for hours, his boots whispering over cobblestones slick with mist. London was still. Even the rats had grown quiet. He leaned against the post, the metal cool against his back. In the distance, the last bell of 4 faded into silence. He sighed, pulling his collar close. Nearly morning, he muttered, though the words were half a yawn. Then he felt it, a strange warmth brushing his cheek. Soft. Gentle. Almost kind. He smiled faintly, thinking the fog must be thinning and that the sun was finally creeping up behind the rooftops. "'Bout time," he whispered, eyes half closed. But the warmth didn't fade. It deepened. A small orange reflection shimmered on the curve of his lantern glass, dancing, restless. The watchman blinked, confused. His mind, heavy with sleep, tried to place it. He thought of bakeries and hearth fires, of morning bread. He yawned again. The city was safe, he told himself. London always was. The warmth licked his cheek one last time, a warning disguised as comfort. Then he drifted off, the lantern dimming beside him. Behind him, down the lane, a single window burst into quiet light. Not bright. Just enough to wake the shadows. His name was Ash, though no one had ever called him that. He lived above the baker's shop on Pudding Lane, a gray cat with amber eyes that caught every flicker of light. All night, he'd slept curled beside the warm oven bricks, dreaming of fish bones and soft hands. But something stirred him. Not a sound, not yet. It was the heat. It pressed faintly against his paws, seeped through the wooden floorboards, and trembled in the air like a heartbeat. Ash lifted his head. His whiskers twitched. The warmth wasn't right, not steady, not kind like the fire that baked bread. This warmth moved. It breathed. He stood, tail flicking once, and padded to the open window. Outside, the sky still wore its night blue coat, but beneath the eaves a strange red glow pulsed softly, like the city was dreaming of embers. Ash crouched low, watching. The street below was silent, only the quiet snore of the watchman, the drip of rain from a roof's edge. No one stirred. The cat's ears tilted forward. He could hear it now, faint, like paper sighing. The sound of heat crawling. Without a sound, Ash leapt down from the windowsill onto the alley's stone ledge. His paws landed in silence. He didn't look back. His tail twitched once more, a single silver curve in the dark. Then he vanished into the mist, slipping between barrels and crates, disappearing toward the river. The only soul awake in a city about to awaken too fast. Behind him, the glow brightened. The baker's shutters began to breathe orange. And London, still dreaming, turned in its sleep. Thomas Farriner, the baker of Pudding Lane, dreamed of rain. In his sleep, he could hear it pattering softly against the shutters. The kind of gentle rain that London knew well. Steady, silver, endless. But when he opened his eyes, the sound did not stop. And the air was wrong. It shimmered. It moved. It breathed. For a moment, he lay still, half caught between dream and waking. Then he smelled it. Not rain, but smoke. Rich, thick, rising through the boards. He sat up fast, the blanket falling from his chest. A glow pulsed across the room. Flickering red on the flour-dusted walls. Thomas turned toward the window. The shutters danced, literally moved. As if the night itself was pressing its palms against them. He heard it then, clear and close. The crackling. Like 1,000 tiny fingers tapping wood. "Mary," he called softly to his daughter asleep in the next room. But his voice was swallowed by the hiss. He swung his legs to the floor. Warm. Too warm. The scent of burning bread filled the air. Sweet and bitter all at once. He reached for the latch. And stopped. Outside the shutter's slats. The world shimmered red. Alive, moving, eating. Thomas's heart began to hammer. This was not rain. This was fire. The sound grew louder. A rhythm older than storms. A whisper that no one could ever silence once it began. It was the sound of a city awakening. Thomas stumbled from his bed, coughing. The air was thick now, sweet and sharp, full of heat and ash. "Mary! Wake up," he called again, louder this time. His daughter appeared in the doorway, her nightdress glowing faintly in the red light. "Father," she whispered, rubbing her eyes. "Is it morning?" "No," he said, rushing toward her. "It's fire." He grabbed her hand and ran to the door. The wood was hot beneath his palm, not warm, but burning. He threw his shoulder against it once, twice. The door didn't move. The heat had swollen the frame, locking it tight. The air hissed with every breath. Behind him, the shutters began to rattle. Flames licked the edges, thin tongues of light curling through the cracks. The flour on the table lifted in a ghostly cloud, turning gold in the firelight. Out the window. Thomas gasped, his voice breaking. He tried again. Bang! The door groaned but held fast. Mary began to cry. He turned and pulled her close. "Don't look, love. Don't look." Smoke poured along the ceiling like ink spreading through water. The fire outside roared now, not a whisper anymore, not polite. It wanted in. Thomas tried once more, slamming the door with his full weight. It cracked but didn't open. He coughed, his lungs screaming. For a moment, he thought he saw shapes in the smoke. Faces, flickers, the breath of something alive. He turned toward the window. "Hold your breath," he said softly. He smashed the glass with a baking paddle. Cold air rushed in, and with it, the sound of something new. A voice, faint, distant, breaking the spell of sleep. One word. Fire. It was said softly at first. As if the city itself were testing the sound. Then again, louder. And again. Fire. Fire. At first, the voice was small, almost shy. Fire. It slipped through the alleys like a startled bird, echoing off the wooden walls and waking a handful of restless souls. A window opened. Someone blinked into the glow, confused. Then the voice came again, louder now, more desperate. Fire. Fire in Pudding Lane. A bucket clattered to the cobblestones. A horse kicked against its stall. From rooftops, doves lifted into the smoky air, scattering like scraps of white paper. The street that had slept moments ago now stirred. Doors opening, voices trembling. Where? Whose house? Is it the baker's? Thomas Farriner stood at his shattered window. Mary pressed against his side, watching in disbelief. As the night turned bright. Not with stars, but with flame. A man ran past, barefoot, shouting again. Others followed, men, women, even children in nightclothes. Their faces painted gold by the fire's growing reach. From every street corner, new cries rose, merging into a sound London had never known before. The heartbeat of panic. Fire. Fire. It rolled across the rooftops, echoed along the river, and reached even the high towers of the churches, where bells that once sang for weddings and peace would soon toll for survival. The sky, no longer night, not yet morning, turned the color of molten copper. And London, wide awake now, began to run. The first bell rang from Street Magnus, sharp and trembling. Then another. And another. Their voices rose together, a chorus of bronze and sorrow, echoing across the rooftops as if London itself had found its lungs at last. The bells did not sing for worship now. They cried. People poured from their homes barefoot, half-dressed, eyes wide with the dazed confusion of dreams turned real. Mothers clutching children, men hauling buckets, dogs barking into the smoke. The cobblestones, wet from the night's mist, glowed red, reflecting not the sunrise, but the growing sea of fire. The river, wide and silent, mirrored it all. A glowing ribbon that flowed between two worlds, one of flame, one of shadow. On London Bridge, the air trembled with sound. Horses reared. Bells clanged. The smell of pitch and panic filled every breath. Above the din, the wind carried the faint song of the flames. A hiss, a crackle, a rhythm that no man had ever composed. The bells rang harder. Their ropes burned the hands that pulled them. But still, they rang. Because it was all anyone could do. The bells cried for the baker's lane, for the stables, for the riverfront shops. For the city that had dreamed too long. It was morning. And London had awakened into fire. At first, the wind only sighed, as if uncertain of what it had woken to. Then, with a long breath drawn from the river's cold heart, it began to move. It slithered through the lanes of Pudding Lane, lifting ash like ghostly snow. It coiled around beams and chimneys, whispering through cracks and shutters. And every whisper it spoke turned to flame. The fire listened. It leaned into the voice that fed it. And together, they began to sing. It was not a song for the living. It was the hymn of hunger. Tiled roofs folded in like paper. Beams groaned, collapsed. Sparrows fell from the air, wings turned to sparks. The wind laughed. A terrible, triumphant sound. And carried the fire across the street, over alleys, over courtyards. Every window became an eye of light. Every doorway, a mouth of smoke. And still, the wind sang louder. It found the docks, where barrels of oil and tar slept in rows. It nudged one, then another. And the riverfront exploded into a column of red and gold. By dawn, even the skies seemed to burn. Clouds turned copper. The river blazed like a road to the sun. And somewhere, above it all, the wind song went on. Wild, endless, and beautiful. The city awoke not with a yawn, but with a scream. Doors burst open, people ran into streets that were no longer streets, but rivers of light and smoke. Women clutched their children. Men dragged buckets from wells that boiled before they could pour. Some stood still, eyes wide, as if unable to believe that morning could be this bright. The sky, once pale and soft, now burned with a furious dawn. Every church bell, every shout, every breaking beam joined into a single, trembling sound. A hymn of endings. From the tower of St. Paul's, the great dome glowed red like a heart through its own ribs. The air shimmered with heat. Pigeons, once white, wheeled black against the rising sun. Yet among the chaos, a strange calm took root. For even as the fire consumed, it revealed the fragility, the closeness, the shared breath of the city. Neighbors lifted buckets together. Children led the old by the hand. And where walls fell, the wind cleared the dust, showing faces streaked with ash and tears, but alive. By noon, the flames had devoured streets. But London, stubborn, human London, still stood at the river's edge, watching its reflection ripple in gold and smoke. And as the wind softened once more, the bells rang again, slower now. Not in alarm, but in memory. The city had awakened. It had seen the light too closely, and would never sleep the same again.